Greetings, Earthlings! In this webinar, we'll explore the Astroid article tour and photography layouts included in the boilerplate template. Key highlights include leveraging Joomla categories as the core organizational structure, incorporating core Joomla article elements and Astroid widgets, and of course, the intuitive drag and drop Astroid article layout builder. In the world of Joomla, the ability to create, adapt, and recycle templates across categories can make the difference between working hard and working smart. Before we dive in, I have a couple of loose ends that I want to tie up. One being what I'm just going to call my previously unidentified mystery box, and the other being regular blog thumbnails, or rather current lack thereof. In the Joomla backend, we start by searching for our Greek article in Content Articles. The tabs at the top include Joomla tabs and of course Astroid tabs, and an extra tab called Tour Info. Now I missed this before, despite it being right in front of my face. We navigate to the front end and click Read More on our Greek article in Article Layouts. The contents of the red box correspond to the information in the Tour Info tab. Now back in the back end, we navigate once again to Content, but this time to Fields, and unpublish all things field related, as they're currently cluttering up the front end. Now, I'm not going to pretend to understand any of this. I just want to turn them off and get them out of the way. Now, the last time around, I also disabled the slick but distracting slideshow for the Greek tour article. Navigating back to the Content Article Greek article, we notice here, by the way, that the Tour Info tab is now missing. But in the Images and Links tab, we add both an intro and full article image. This will be useful later for demonstration purposes. Save and refresh the front end and note the changes. We are now totally dialed in and ready to roll. Let's dive into the basics of Astroid article layouts. We'll start by going to System, Site Template Styles, Default Template. On the left, in the Article Blog section, we'll find the Article Layout Builder. We'll pretend we have two layouts here, the photography layout and the tour layout. We'll start with the photography layout and look at the tour layout later. We'll navigate to the Layout Builder and do the same in the front end for a relevant photography article. As of now, we only have one article in the photography category. We'll go to the Article Layouts, Photography Example, and navigate to Beautiful Day. Read More, and then to the actual Beautiful Day article. Now for the moment, we're just eyeballing how the layout appears to work. We notice that there are different sections in the back end. So for example, we have a top section with 2 columns. On the left, we apparently have 3 items, and on the right, we have 1 item. In the middle, we have another section that spans the entire page. And down here, we have a third section that appears to be split into 2 columns. And there are yet more sections down here too. As a rule of thumb, anything with an underscore in its description is usually a core Joomla article element, whilst elements with single word descriptions are Astroid widgets. We can pick and mix Astroid and Joomla elements within different sections of the article builder. The sections themselves are also highly configurable. Just a heads up, what we see in the back end doesn't always show up in the front end. So for instance, the Joomla page heading and title are a good example. Let's say we disable the page heading and refresh the front end, and you could be forgiven for thinking that beautiful day should disappear, but this is obviously not the case. To disable beautiful day, we actually have to disable the title. The heading and title are two very different things, and the Joomla header in the photography layout will only work when the header section is turned on in the Joomla backend, either at the article level or in the global settings. So whilst we have 3 elements in the left-hand column of the first section, only 2 of them are currently set up. Now skipping down here to the third section, we have a kind of a similar situation. We also have 2 columns, and to see any changes made here in the tags element, we'd have to get into the Joomla backend and activate tabs. They are currently not activated for this article. So from the 2 columns, only the left-hand column is currently set up to work right out of the box. Now, coming at this from a different perspective, let's move to the second section here in the Layout Builder, which is a mix of Joomla article elements and Astroid widgets. Let's take a closer look at 2 of these widgets, the video widget and the image group widget. The video widget is pretty straightforward. It has a single video that fills the entire width of the second section of our article. But the image group is a bit more interesting. It's essentially a configurable grid where you can change the number of columns and rows of images. Now, I don't want to get into this in too much detail right now, but it's pretty easy to change the layout by adding or removing elements from the image grid widget. Now, I know that this might all seem very basic, but I just want to make sure that we're all currently on the same page. Now, we've explored the variations within sections. But now let's zoom out and look at how sections relate to each other. Now, to do this, I'm opening up 2 layouts side by side in the Astroid Article Layout Builder. Now, whilst we're using similar building blocks, similar Joomla and Astroid elements, it's clear from the backend setup that our ingredients, our blocks, are arranged very differently. Now, eyeballing this, on the left, I've opened up the photography layout. On the right, I've opened up the tour layout. And obviously, each of these is linked to their respective Joomla category. Now, the left side of the page has a bunch of different elements arranged in 2 columns. Now, by contrast, in the first section on the right, there's 1 column that's filled with 2 elements that could potentially take up the entire width of the page. And these, of course, are stacked on top of each other. Moving down somewhat in our template, in the second section of the photography template on the left, we have a column with elements stacked on top of each other, which could, again, potentially fill the entire page. Now, we've considered things like the image group, which kind of breaks this rule. And now on the right again, looking at the second section, we see our tour template, and we have a wider section that's flanked by a sidebar. And of course, comparing the third section on the left and the right, we see again that we've got different formatting variations. But wait, there is more. At the top of our article layout builder, we have a handy option to add a new section. This is how we'd start building the layout from scratch if we were doing this ourselves. Now, we'll get to that later in this series. When we click New Section, we're presented with a bunch of different layout options, and if none of these fit what we need, we can even create custom sections. And guess what? Once we've set up these sections, we can fill them with other elements, be they Joomla or Astroid. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and we're putting the pieces together piece by piece. Now, for this demo, I've color-coded the tour layout to make it easier to see what is going on. Now, of course, we've got 2 articles in our tour category, And central to this whole endeavor is to realize that changes we make to the tour article layout will affect all articles in our tour category. Let's see how this works. So in the front end, we're going to navigate to the Northern Greece article, and in the back end, we're going to navigate to the Astroid tour article layout. We have our layout with sections containing elements. Now, some of these elements are core Joomla, whilst others are Astroid widgets. Let's talk about the color code here. For example, bright blue is Joomla. Here we have obvious elements like the title and text. We also have purple items, which are simple and straightforward Astroid widgets. We have tour plan items, and one is a heading widget, and the other is an accordion widget. And of course, there's more Astroid elements, or rather widgets, over here on the right-hand side in the sidebar. Now we can easily make changes to these elements. When I pimped this layout, I changed the title of each element in the general settings, and in the design settings added, for example here, a purple background because it's an Astroid widget. But there's a lot more to this. Depending on the widget, there are different features. So for example, the header widget has different functions than the accordion widget. The header, as its name implies, is just a header, whilst the accordion widget is like a rabbit hole with lots of options. We've got pink elements too. I labeled some elements as pink because they're core Joomla elements with a little bit of extra Astroid sauce. So for instance, the information block, which includes things like the author, the category, the publish date and hits. But guess what? We also have read time, which is of course Astroid functionality, extra Astroid functionality. The profile, the social section, the rating system all tell a similar story. Essentially Joomla with a little bit of Astroid functionality sprinkled on top. Now I've covered this extra Astroid functionality in more detail elsewhere on this channel, and some of these extra settings you're going to find them scattered throughout the Astroid backend. Now, seeing as how this is all drag and drop, let's rearrange a couple of Joomla and Astroid elements and observe what happens in the front end. For example, I'll take the standard Joomla thumbnail that I activated earlier, and I'll place it at the bottom of the left-hand column, and I'm going to do something very similar with the contact item. I'm going to drag this all the way down here to the bottom of the right-hand column. I'll save this and refresh the front end, and we see that these items have moved down. And let's take a look at the other tour example we borrowed from the onCategorized category. Guess what? The image has moved down, as has the contact image. I'll drag the Joomla image into the column on the right and the Astroid widget into the column on the left, and we're going to save and refresh the front end, and we can see the changes right away. And they apply to all articles in this category, the tour article category. And they don't affect the photography category at all. I think it's time to slowly wrap up this section. In the next part of this series, I'll dive deeper into the cascading relationship between the Astroid layout builder and the categories and the individual articles and of course the widgets within. Each level will offer more and more configuration options. If this content is useful, please like and subscribe and help support this channel moving into 2025. Thank you for your time.